What is going on, guys? Joey here with Flex Training Systems, and I'm a little late getting this video out, but it is okay because we're getting it done. Um, yeah, we're going to talk about Nats being canceled. I have a lot of notes here. A lot of these notes came from you guys. I had put out a little, like those little things on Instagram where you can drop questions. Um, and you guys answered, and you guys gave me a lot of really good points. Before I get into those points, I'm just going to talk about it, like whatever's on the top of my head about Nats being canceled. I'm just going to put it out there, some general words, and then I'm going to go down the list and kind of expand on it. There are some interesting things here, and I do have at the end of the video some interesting potential nationals news or what they're going to do for worlds next year and things like that, which is actually really interesting. So if you are a lifter that is remotely competitive and want to hear that, then stay till the end. That being said, let's get into it. Okay, so Nats is canceled. I mean, no one is really shocked by this. I don't really see how nationals could have happened. Um, there's just too much stress associated with this competition. There are too many things going on. Outside of the gym, outside of the world that are just not letting this happen. Can you imagine going to nationals and I mean, if you're like me, maybe you guys could call me overly cautious, but I am around elderly people, so I need to make sure that I prevent them from getting sick. I'm sure lots of you guys have family members, right? Um, if I lived alone, or just me and Tina and we didn't interact with anyone else, I mean, maybe, I would do it. Maybe I'd be going to the gym right now, who knows? But that is not the case. So I have to be considerate. I have to make sure that I am not getting around anyone that I could potentially make sick. Um, which is why I'm still at the house. I'm still not going to zoo, despite people training there and not wearing masks and things like that. Um, and for those of you that don't know, my gym is called Zoo Culture, which is why I said zoo. But yeah, I mean, when I did the Arnold, it was super stressful to have to go there. Wear a mask on the plane, wash my hands all the time, stay away from people, don't shake any hands. If you touch anything, make sure you wash your hands before you touch anything on your body. And it was just like so much stress. And I'm not gonna lie, it kind of takes away from the fun of everything. It's just hard to focus when you have to worry about this, this other thing. Not only do you have to worry about it, but if you are negligent, you could potentially harm somebody else. So it's just like I don't think Nats would have been a good idea either way. There's a lot of judges that are very elderly, and it would suck if anybody got super sick and died because we were greedy and wanted to do a national. So, despite USAPL having to refund a shit ton of money, I mean, good on you. You guys did. I think that was the right decision. Honestly, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what's going to happen with this COVID thing. It doesn't seem like it's going to slow down anytime soon. And even if a vaccine comes out, that doesn't just mean that it goes away. You know what I mean? People still have to get it. The vaccine needs to be refined and made safe. And there's just like so many other things that can happen. So it's just stress, and nobody wants to deal with that stress when we have to focus on performing our best on the platform. That being said, I know some people have asthma, which doesn't help, and then wearing a mask on top of it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I'm glad they canceled it because nobody needs to be in trouble. Nobody needs to jeopardize their health to do this. And it would have been a weird nationals too, right? Like not everybody would have shown up. I know for a fact right now I have some top lifters literally the best in their weight class that live with elderly people. So they would have been incredibly conflicted. Like, crap, do I go to nationals and have to be super safe or, and then come home and like self quarantine or have to get a hotel for 2 weeks? You know what I'm saying? It's just nobody wants to deal with that mess. So I think they did the right thing. It's been a crazy year. Like, every day I wake up and I'm just like, when I open my phone, what crazy news is going to be out there in the world? You know what I mean? Like, what else can happen to us? Like, what's going to happen next? So, yeah, like I said, I think it was the right move. Um, yeah, that's really just my general thoughts on it. I was going to be our biggest year, like every year is for Flex. I I actually this last June was the best year for us, like just from the amount of people signing up and reoccurring people and things like that, which is interesting because we don't really have anything going on, which is a testament to the I don't know, the legacy of Flex, the reputation, whatever. So I'm very thankful to be in this position. I know a lot of people are not doing that well in this situation, and I feel for them, and I hope that they're staying safe and being taken care of. But I mean, just because Nationals is canceled doesn't mean like like Nats will happen again. I can guarantee you that, and meets will happen again, and meets are actually still happening. I actually did three. Um, I sent out three separate tapers today or final blocks leading into competitions, and I know I have more coming up, so that's kind of good. I had a lifter compete recently, and he's self quarantining. Like they actually have a house that nobody lives at, which I know is an extreme luxury, but it's like very nice that he could do that and keep his parents safe. Um, so for people in that very rare situation, I think that might be. I mean, they might compete and then just hold out and come home when it's safe. So, um, but yeah, training continues. You gotta if you care about this thing and you've already invested years and a ton of time, it doesn't make sense to throw it all away or just fall behind when you have the means to stay on track. You know what I'm saying? Nats will happen again, and you will have missed opportunities if you do that. But at the end of the day, I cannot tell you what is the right or wrong answer. I cannot tell you, hey, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. It's up to you. Powerlifting is what you make it. If you want to be the best powerlifter that you can be and compete at the highest levels, then obviously you're going to do what it takes to stay on point, and you don't need me to tell you that, right? Um, I think there's a lot of people that are sort of like middle of the pack and they don't really know what they're doing. They thought they were doing something for fun, and now they see that they have to work really hard to continue doing this thing that's fun when you do not have external motivation now. You know what I mean? It's all intrinsic. It's all is that even the right word for that? It's all internal motivation, right? It's coming from within, meaning you're going to train because you want to train and nobody else is going to make you want to train. Usually with powerlifters, it's like, okay, we have a meet coming up and that's going to be a source of motivation for us. But now it's like there aren't really any big national meets to go to, but there are local meets which you can take national records at if the right personnel is there, which is interesting. So really, you're going to have to keep yourself you're gonna have to keep yourself, in shape, and you're gonna have to be ready when the time comes. I just had a, quick conversation with Russ. I was telling him, hey man, like nationals isn't happening, but I'm hearing behind the scenes there could be in talks for something similar to a nationals early next year. So we got to stay in shape. And he's like, I already know. He's like, I already got you. Like, I had no plans of slowing you down. And because the worst thing you want to do is be like one of those top lifters, or be somebody that wants to compete well in the juniors or something like that, and then you take all this time off because there's no nationals, and then they announce something three months out, and you're like way behind now. You know what I mean? So that would really suck. Um, so I mean, again, it's up to the lifter. Like whatever you want to get out of powerlifting, that's up to you. But at the end of the day, I think you've already invested this much time. You might as well continue to build on it. It's less stress now. You have a lot more time. You don't need to worry about a deadline or anything. Just take your time, cut weight if you need to cut weight. Get your diet in check, stay healthy. Maybe add a little bit more cardio to the regimen. Just now's the time for that. Go into a little bit more variety and things like that. So, you know, granted, it is hard to go into that variety when we don't have access to gyms, but do the best you can. Um, I've been ranting for 9 minutes, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go down the list and just kind of bring up some of the points that you guys touched on. If I already went over it, I might say it, but I'm not gonna go too much into detail. Okay, so kind of piggybacking on my last point, there's less pressure, um, and someone had mentioned that injuries can heal, and like so basically he was saying like a lot of people they're gonna have injuries and they're gonna kind of force themselves to train because they want to compete, which is a form of self-imposed stress, right? No one's gonna think any differently of you or hate you because you got hurt and you didn't perform well at a meet. Um, Granted there are ways to manage it, but that's another form of self-imposed pressure. Like if it's me and I'm going into a meet, actually my last meet I had a lot of shit going on, and I actually hurt something on the inside of my right hamstring, and it bruised pretty bad. So I probably tore something, but I kept going. I didn't really stop. It hurt like a bitch, and I don't recommend doing that. But I mean, hey, I did what I did, and I don't regret it, and I was able to walk away with PRs. Um, a 9 for 9 day. Granted, it was rough, like getting there and just getting to the actual meet, but I did it. Um, so yeah, self-imposed pressure. You don't have that now. There's no, for those of you that put a lot of pressure on themselves to be ready for nationals. That pressure is kind of still there though, because something will come up. Then a meet will come up. So you need to have kind of good pressure. Like you're putting pressure on yourself to perform well, you know, in a meet and stuff like that. So somebody asked, how will worlds be determined? Now, I was saving this for the end of the video, and I still will. I'm gonna come back to that one. Um, People mentioned more time to build. Of course, now there's more time to build. I mean, I love training, right? I like the grind. I like just being in the gym, just doing what I gotta do. And so for those kind of people, I mean, you're good. Like you're just gonna keep getting stronger and keep, living the grind and going through the process and having fun with it. Um, Sheffield qualifying totals that will go into the worlds thing. No meet doesn't mean golds. Goals change self reflection. Yes, so because there is no competition, we're gonna take sort of an inward look. Like, okay, what am I doing? What do I really want from powerlifting? What are my goals? Do I really want to keep putting in the work, or do I really want to keep, having? If you can only train at a gym, do I want to risk it if I have to wear a mask and things like that? So it's gonna vary from person to person, but I do think there are gonna be a lot of people that are gonna hopefully look at the situation objectively and decide whether or not they really want to do this thing long term, especially now that they have to work a little bit harder for it, right? I mean, Corona is definitely making it, more difficult to do what you could have done easily before. Um, Somebody asked, "What are my lifters' goals? Is there a point in competing?" Um, I will say that if the goal is to do nationals one day in the future, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, yes, absolutely, you got to keep training because you don't beat people in 3 months. You beat them over the course of years, building and adding to the total over time, and it just everything comes together. All your past history as a lifter will come together on the platform. Um, are people gonna max out even though there's no nationals? I don't even know what that like I don't know what the obsession is with like maxing out, right? People think because I have my lifters do singles that we're maxing out. That's not the case at all. You can take a single and not max out. Um, so yeah, I don't understand that, but you could definitely do a heavy single in training, but I don't have anyone that's gonna do a mock meet. I actually don't like mock meets. I think there are better ways to bring out PRs in training other than a mock meet. Um, there are scenarios where it can be useful, like if you have someone incredibly inexperienced, it might be good for them to kind of go through that. But I don't think it's ever a good idea to just max out. Literally, you never need to max out in the gym. There's like no point. There's literally no point. Um, there can be benefits to it, but I feel that there are better ways to go about it. Somebody mentioned juniors aging out. So yes, some juniors are not going to get their opportunity to compete at nationals their final year. I mean, it sucks, but in my opinion, if you're in this for the long haul, if you are truly passionate about the sport, then you should be thinking about where you're going to eventually end up, which is the Open. Um, it is nice to kind of take junior titles and things like that, but at the end of the day, there used to be a meme just kind of saying like, it was like it's something along the lines of you're dominant in juniors and you get to the Open and you're irrelevant, so you quit the sport, something like that. Um, I would hope that if you would be passionate about powerlifting, that would not be the case. But like I said, different goals for different people. Powerlifting is what you make it. Somebody had mentioned that this is a blessing in disguise. I think yes, absolutely. Kind of going back to putting pressure on yourself and dealing with injuries. This will give some people more time to sort of sort things out and kind of solve their issues. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's definitely some positives. You could take this time to grind, to just work on other things, focus on your business. I know I've been doing other things to grow flex, and that's That always helps. Although I do benefit mostly from just getting out there in the field and handling business. It is what it is. We gotta adapt. But yeah, um, there are definitely some silver lining here, and I think it would be foolish to ignore that. Somebody asked, why is this the right decision, and how does this help long term? I mean, it keeps people safe, prevents people who would have died from potentially dying. I think it's just better for the federation overall, and the liability is probably just too great. Thoughts on American records at local meets? I mean, if the right judging is there, sure, but in my opinion, it's not going to mean as much as if you did it at nationals when you have a guy who could literally take the record back from you back to back. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, yeah, you could go cherry pick your little local meets and take your records, but I mean, the real ones know who, where you got it done and stuff like that. So that might be a little bit of a nitpick, but that's just what I think about it. Um, a good time to get your weight in check. Yes, like I mentioned earlier, this is a great time to diet down. I'm doing the same thing. How is USAPL financially affected by this decision? They aren't really affected by this decision because you can still compete at locals. Um, you know what I mean? So I don't think it's going to really bother them at all. Although some people will not compete this year, so they won't pay for a membership. So in that sense, maybe they are slightly affected, but I don't think it's not gonna make that much of a difference. Um, okay, so I have here people aren't ready mentally. I don't know what that means, but I think what they mean is like you weren't ready mentally for the meet, and now you have more time to sort of develop yourself. Yes, to an extent, but I do think that competing helps you develop mentally as a lifter. So it's good to compete. So like I said, you could mimic a mock me, but it's just not the same when you have judges in front of you and a crowd and whatnot. Um, I know who sent this one. Shout out to Nico Flores. Nico says, "I can't see you anymore." Yes, brother, I won't be able to see you. Unfortunately, we won't. I don't even know when the next time is we'll be able to have like interaction with people and just hang out with people and go eat and things like that. I don't know. And it's kind of depressing to think about, but it will pass. That's all I do know. Someone mentioned it's not a big deal. Yeah, it's really not. Like I said, if the goal is long term, let's say you would have done this nationals and had a bad meet, and then do next nationals and had a good meet. If you just take out the bad meat, then maybe you don't have that bad meat and you only have the good meat. You know what I mean? Like at the long term, it doesn't really matter as long as you're in the trenches. As long as you're working hard, as long as you're training hard, then at the end of the day, this is gonna pass, and you would have been training just like you know what I'm saying, like you would have been, well, like you would have been before. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Last thing here is, well, second to last thing. What should people do moving forward? Really look at yourself in the mirror, figuratively speaking, and ask yourself, is this something I want to do? Do I want to invest my time and effort into this thing? And if it is, then continue to do it. Stay on the grind, get stronger. And if it isn't, then maybe you needed something like this to happen for you to truly find yourself, for you to truly find what you want to get out of the sport. And if this is, this is what you want to be spending your time doing and what you want to do at the end of the day. Yeah, I hope that helps a lot of people out there. Now, really quickly, what I wanted to say about Worlds, this was said on a podcast by Bill. Bill is just like one of the assistant coaches for Worlds, who I've worked with multiple times, like on meet day stuff, and he had proposed that they do nationals at the Arnold next year, and that they do the top 14 lifters in every class. So you have literally every class, and it's like whatever the rankings are for at that time. I don't know how they're gonna do it, like 2019 or sorry 2020 or whatever. Take the top lifters and you have them compete there, and then the winners of those meets or the people that do well at those meets that'll determine worlds. And then obviously from worlds you can decide on the Sheffield qualifying totals. I think that will be interesting, and I think that would be a good way for the USAPL to try to test out that kind of format. We had suggested in the past that nationals should only be the top lifters, Some people say no, we want to have everybody there. We want, like a big crowd and stuff like that. Um, and I think either way, I mean, it's fine. Like however you want to do it, as long as you have a pinnacle meet that people can aspire to get to. I think that that is what you want. Um, yeah, 14 people. I mean, if Corona is still around, it is a way to keep people safe, and I'm sure that that is a lot more doable than, um, that is a lot more doable than having a massive nationals with a ton of people there. The only issue I see with that is if you're going to do it based on the 2020 qualifying totals, then it's kind of like, well, if people are worried about Corona and they wouldn't have competed anyway, then how would they get into this meet? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really solve the issue of the Rona possibly being around. It would be nice to be at a meet with the best lifters in the nation, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. That is just a theory. That is just something that someone of somewhat of significance had put out there. I would not be surprised if it happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't happen. But that would be interesting. A couple things for you guys here at the end of the video. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about like having nationals be just 14 for this year, this next year, whatever? 14 people, one flight of each class, and across multiple days, so you can highly minimize the amount of people that need to be in the room at the same time. Um, Granted, having to wash your hands between touching the bar every time, that's like such a pain and whatever, dude. The lines for the bathrooms are going to be crazy. But what do you guys think about that? I don't know. I mean, whatever it is, I'll have to consider it. And, like I said, I got to be there for my people, but it's just like, I mean, we can't even go to Europe, so there's not going to be any worlds in Europe. You know what I'm saying? So it's very interesting what's going to happen. Crazy, crazy times, and how we're navigating through all this. The one silver lining is that we're all going through this together. There's going to be a time when we can look back at this time and be like, "Dang, like you remember, guys? You guys remember 2020? It was a crazy year." So, and it's going by quick. We're already halfway through, which is nuts to me. So, that being said, thank you for making it to the end of this video. 4th of July sale for PR Breaker, code FLEX10. Don't forget to use it. I think it's like $5 off everything. Plus, you get the 10% off using my code, so that's dope. We are in the process of restocking the banners. I actually already have them. We're just waiting on the rest of the apparel. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much that. Let me get a hashtag um, grind. Hashtag grind in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Can't speak. Peace.